Hi, Creative Creole. How are you? It's so nice of you to join me tonight for story time. How was your day? I'm well, thanks. A little tired, but I'm okay. Um, I was pretty much resting today. I was in a lot of lives though, trying to support others, um, but pretty much resting, not doing a whole lot. That's good. I'm glad you had a good day. That is so good. It's so good to know. And I appreciate you taking time to come out and hang out with me. Um, Gigi notified me that she said people were waiting in my live earlier. I thought I set it for 10 o'clock. I thought I set it for 10 o'clock, and she said it was on about 6:40, and that people were posting up in the live. But she said she did see the message though that I was coming on at 10. So I don't know what happened with that. I call myself just setting it up early to schedule it because the last time I came in, I had a problem getting into Stream Labs at the last minute, and it would not let me log in. It just kept giving me this error message. And finally, at the spur of the moment, I had to download StreamYard onto my laptop. Oh, you were there earlier? I'm so sorry. I am so sorry that you were there earlier. I don't know what happened with that. And I appreciate the fact that you came back though. So like I said, I had to download that StreamYard. I don't really like StreamYard because it gives you such a small window uh, for people to view you and stuff, and it's real fuzzy like. So I don't like StreamYard at all. Which one do you use? Do you use StreamYard or Streamlab? Because your videos look pretty clear, so I don't think you use StreamYard or Streamlab, or you use some other kind of app. Oh, you do use StreamYard, really? Because I was able to see you in your window pretty big, and it didn't look that fuzzy. So I don't know, maybe the lighting makes a difference. But like I said, I didn't like the way StreamYard looked. I like Streamlab better, but I don't know what was going on. Um, I have my story tonight. I'm not as satisfied with my story tonight as all the others. This one was kind of. I forgot that this. Hi, Simply Sweetheart. My video has a delay. Oh wow. I hope this thing is not acted up again. Still. Hi, Gigi from Gigi's Gluten Free Lab. Thank you, Simply Sweetheart. Well, what it is Creative Creole. What it is I forgot that this story takes off really, really slow. I really forgot about that. And as I was going through it, it's like I felt like I got absolutely nowhere with it. We still haven't even gotten into the meat of the story. So I don't know if I'm going to continue with it. I'll take a poll tonight after you all hear it, and you all can let me know what you think. But right now, I'm not too keen on continuing with it. Creole, Simply a Sweetheart is speaking. Hello, Creative. She's speaking to you, Creative Creole. So, ladies, I'll figure it out. Like I said, I'll take a poll, and if you all want me to continue with it, I will. But I don't know. It's a lot, and it's going to take a long time, I believe, to get through the entire story. When you hear it, you'll know what I'm talking about. And so I don't know. How's your day, Simply a Sweetheart? How did your day go today? Everything okay with you? Is it still I don't know. I don't know what is going on here. Okay. Hi, 50 plus. How are you? I'm well, thanks. How about yourself? Oh, good. Simply a Sweetheart, I'm glad you had a great day. Hi, Yvonne. How are you? So glad you could join me tonight for story time. Hi, Tisa Renee Green. Welcome to story time. Always a pleasure to have new people join me. So glad you were able to make it in. Simply speaking to Yvonne. 50 said he's good. So you had a good day, 50? That's good. And Simply is speaking to 50. I'm well, Yvonne. Thanks. Hi, Gigi. I see you back. Gigi, thanks for going on earlier and letting people know there was some kind of issue going on there. I wasn't aware that it was showing them that I was in the live. I thought it showed 10 o'clock. But thank you for going in and letting those who were here earlier know. Yvonne says, glad to be here. And Simply Sweetheart is speaking to Tisa. Simply speaking to Gigi. 50 plus is speaking to Creative Creole. The Creative Creole is saying hi to Yvonne. Tisa is saying hi to Creative Creole. Throwing a kiss. 50 plus is speaking and throwing some love to Gigi. I was telling Creative Creole, because she was the first one in the live. I said I wasn't as thrilled with the story tonight as I was with the others, and it's only because I forgot it was a story that has a very slow start. So I feel like I haven't covered much territory with this story. And by the time it's over tonight, I'm gonna let you all decide if you want me to continue on with this story or if you want me to move on to something else, because I think this story is gonna take a while. It's gonna take me a few sessions. And I'm okay with that if you all are okay with that, but it's just that I'm trying to figure it all out. Simply Sweetheart says, oops, hello Gigi. She's speaking to Gigi. So I'm just trying to figure it out. Okay, she's saying she accidentally removed her comment. Oh, okay. So that's the thing. I'm not sure where I want to head with the story. Let's see who we got new tonight. We have Tisa. Hi, DD Live Studios. Thank you so much for stopping by to show me some love in my story time tonight. It's always a pleasure to have new people join me as well as the old people. And I hope that you'll enjoy story time tonight. Thank you so much for coming by. Simply is speaking to Dee Dee. Creole is speaking to Dee Dee. I'm going to go ahead and get started. It's about 11 after. Because like I said, I don't take anyone's time for granted, and I feel that everyone is equally important. For those of you who are here new to Storytime, I'm a published author, and this is my book. And the title of it is My Struggle in Broken Pieces, A Healing for My Soul. So actually, in the near future, I'm going to be reading excerpts from that book. And that's why I call these little stories a prelude to story time. Even though this is story time, these are just little stories leading up to when I start reading excerpts from my book. And I will still be doing these little cute stories in between, because I also use these little stories as my opportunity to shout out to you all's channels. In each story I feature YouTubers like yourselves in these stories. You may be in a story as a person, place, or thing, not necessarily a character, a person when you're in there as a character, but you may be in there as a person, place, or thing, depending on what your YouTube name is. So that's what I do, and there's no rhyme or reason. I just try to find a YouTuber's name and fit it into the slot as the story progresses and based on the flow of the story. So I try to find a name that I think would fit and flow well in the story, and that's how I come up with the names. There are people that I've used in more than one story so far. 50 Plus has been featured in more than one story. Who else? I don't remember if Simply a Sweetheart. I think Simply a Sweetheart has been featured in a couple of stories too, because her name was used to identify the character that they were. So I may have used it like, oh, so and so was simply a sweetheart. So she's been featured in a couple of stories. Dee Dee says, sure, I don't mind, laugh aloud. I'm busy with my stream ATM, but I am dropping by. Gigi says hi to Simply a Sweetheart, 50 plus, and she's just getting back from the gym. 50's talking to Gigi. That's cool. That's kind of like Dungeons and Dragon kind of from Dee Dee. Laugh out loud. Simply Sweetheart says I was in one. Yes. Now, Simply, I think you might have been in two. I think you might have been in two. I know for sure one, but I think you were in two. Dee Dee says I would like to be in one. Laugh out loud. Who knows, Dee Dee? We got to see how the story goes and what the flow is. Like I said, the story tonight is one that takes off real slow, and I'll let you all decide when it's done if you want me to continue on this path or if you want me to move on to a different story. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading our story for tonight. Here we go. Oh, thank you, 50. 50 says he's sharing me out in his community tab. Thank you so much. Okay. Brooklyn Chick was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do but sit and think. Once or twice she peeked into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures in it. What is the use of a book without pictures, thought Brooklyn Chick. So she was thinking in her own mind, this is truly a waste of my time. She wanted to play, but the very hot day made her feel very sleepy and senseless. She was debating whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of gathering the daisies up, when suddenly a white rabbit named Hippity Dippity 89 ran close to her. There was nothing remarkable in that, nor did Brooklyn Chick think, in fact, it out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be late. When she thought it over afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this, but at the time it all seemed quite natural. When the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket, he looked at it and then started rocking and hurried on. Brooklyn Chick jumped to her feet, for it flashed across her mind that she had never before seen this kind of rabbit before. With a waistcoat pocket and a watch to take out of it, she burned with curiosity and ran across the field after it, just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under a hedge. At the spur of the moment, down went Brooklyn Chick after it, never once considering how she would come out of it again. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, and then dipped suddenly down another way. The Brooklyn Chick had not a moment to think about it before she found herself falling deeper and deeper into the well. The well was very deep, and she thought she was dreaming as she fell slowly down the hole. She had plenty of time as she went down to look around, wondering what was going to happen next. With a frown, she tried to look down and make out what she was coming to. She thought to herself, "It's too dark to see anything around me." So she looked at the sides of the well. She noticed that they were filled with cupboards and bookshelves, here and there, maps and pictures, as she took down a jar from one of the shelves. It was labeled orange marmalade, but to her great disappointment, the jar was empty. She didn't open the top for fear she might drop the jar and hit somebody over the head. She managed to put it into one of the cupboards as she fell past it. Well, thought Brooklyn Chick to herself, this is it. This is where it gets real. After such a fall as this, I shall think nothing of tumbling downstairs. How brave they'll all think I am at home when they find out I was all alone in this hole. Why, I wouldn't say anything about it, even if I fell off the top of the house. Down, 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 she fell. Would the fall ever come to an end? What she had on her mind was, how many miles have I fallen by this time? I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth with all these dirt walls I've passed. Let me see, that would be 4,000 miles down. I think you see, Brooklyn Chick had learned several things of this sort in school. Then she thought, this is not a very good time to show off her knowledge. There was no one to listen to her. Still, it was good practice for her, she thought. That seems about the right distance, but then I wonder what latitude and longitude is this, she thought. Brooklyn Chick had no idea what latitude was, or longitude either, but suddenly started to think, do I have a fever? Presently, she began again. I wonder if my friends will be on the other end when I fall right through the earth. Also, how funny it'll be to see the reaction of the people who walk with their heads downward. She was glad there was no one listening, because what she said didn't sound right at all. Once I land, will I have to ask them, what's the name of the country, you know? She thought, please, ma'am, is this New Zealand or Australia? Which is more appealing? As she tried to curtsy as she spoke, while fancy curtsying as when falling through the black hole. Do you think you could manage it? What an ignorant little girl she'll think me for asking, she thought. No, it'll never do to ask. Perhaps I shall see it written up somewhere when I pass. Down, down, down. There was nothing else around or to do, so Brooklyn Chick soon began talking again. Cherry Baby will miss me very much tonight, I should think. Cherry Baby is the cat. I hope they'll remember her sauce of milk at tea time. Cherry Baby, my dear, I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice in this hole, nor a bowl of milk. But you might catch a bat, and that's a fact. But do cats eat bats? I wonder. And here Brooklyn Chick began to get rather sleepy and went on saying to herself in a dreamy sort of way, just babbling. Do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats? And sometimes, do bats eat cats? For you see, she was sleepy as can be, so she couldn't answer either question. It didn't much matter which way she put it. She felt that she was dozing off and had just begun to dream that she was walking hand in hand with Cherry Baby, saying to her very earnestly, now Cherry Baby, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat? Or did the bat try to eat you? When suddenly, thump, thump, down she came with a bump and landed upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves. And the fall was finally over. Brooklyn Chick was not a bit hurt, and she jumped up on her feet in a moment. She looked up, but it was all dark overhead. Before her was another long passage, and Hippity Dippity 89 was still in sight, hurrying with his glasses hanging on his nose. There was not a moment to be lost. Away went Brooklyn Chick like the wind, and was just in time to hear it say, as it turned the corner again, oh my ears and whiskers, how late it's getting. She was close behind it, hurrying with all her might, but when she turned the corner, the rabbit was no longer in sight. She found herself in a long, low hall, which was lit up by a row of lamps hanging from the roof. There were doors all around the hall, but they were all locked. And when Brooklyn Chick had been all the way down one side and up the other, trying every door, she walked sadly down the middle, wondering how was she ever to get out again. Suddenly she came upon a little three-legged table, all made of solid glass. There was nothing on it except a tiny golden key, and Brooklyn Chick's first thought was, just maybe it belongs to one of the doors of the hall. Alas, either the locks were too large or the key was too small, but at any rate, it would not open any of them at all. However, on the second time around, she came upon a low curtain she had not noticed before for certain, and behind it was a little door about 15 inches high or more. She tried the little golden key in the lock, and to her great delight, it popped the door wide open. Brooklyn Chick opened the door and found that it led into a small passage, not much more larger than a rat hole. She knelt down and looked along the passage into the loveliest garden you've ever seen. She longed to get out of that dark hall, to wander among those beds of bright flowers, and she couldn't get her head through the doorway. And even if my head would go through it, it would be of very little use without my shoulders, thought the poor Brooklyn chick. Oh, how I wish I could fold up like a telescope. I think I could if only knew how to begin. For you see, so many out of the way things have happened lately. The Brooklyn chick began to think that very few things are really impossible. There seemed to be no use in waiting by the little door, so she went back to the table to look for more little keys, or at any rate, a book of rules for shutting people up like telescopes. This time she found a little bottle on the table, hoping that she was able to find some sort of clue. Around the neck of the bottle was a paper label with the words "Drink Me" beautifully printed on it in large letters. It was all very well to say, "Drink me right away," but the wise little Brooklyn chick was not going to do that in a hurry. "No, I'll look first," she said, "and then whether it's marked poison or not," for she had read several histories about children who had gotten burnt, among other unpleasant things, all because they would not remember the simple rules their friends had taught them, such as that a red-hot poker will burn you if you hold it too long. She had never forgotten that if you drink much from a bottle marked poison, it is almost certain you'd be gone sooner or later. However, this bottle was not marked poison, so Brooklyn chick ventured to taste it, and finding it very nice. It had a sort of mixed flavor of cherry tart, custard, pineapple, roasted turkey, toffee, and a hot buttered toast. She very soon finished it off. What a curious feeling, she thought. I must be shutting up like a telescope. And so it was indeed. She was now only 10 inches high, you see, and her face brightened up at the thought that she was now the right size for going through the little door into that lovely garden. First, however, she waited for a few minutes just to see if she was going to shrink any further. She felt a little nervous about this because it all happened so quick. For I might end up, in my going out altogether like a candle, said Brooklyn chick. I wonder what I should be like then. And she tried to fancy what the flame of a candle is like after the candle is blown out at night, for she could not remember ever having seen such a thing. After a while, finding that nothing more happened, she decided on going into the garden. Alas for the poor Brooklyn chick. When she got to the door, she found she had forgotten once more the little golden key. When she went back to the table for it, she found she could not possibly reach it. She could see it quite plainly through the glass, and she tried very fast to climb up on the legs of the table, but she was not able because it was slippery. She tired herself out with trying, so the poor little thing sat down just crying. "Come, there's no use in crying like that," said Brooklyn Chick to herself. As a matter of fact, I advise you to leave off this minute. She generally gave herself very good advice, though she very seldom followed it. Sometimes she scolded herself so severely as to bring tears into her eyes. Once she remembered trying to box her own ears for having cheated herself in a game of croquet. She was playing against herself, for this curious child was very fond of pretending to be two people. But it's no use now, thought poor Brooklyn Chick. I just want to know how to get out of here. Excuse me. Soon her eye fell on a little glass box that was lying up on top of the table. She opened the box and found in it a very small cake, one which the words "Eat me" were beautifully baked on top. Well, I'll eat it, said Brooklyn Chick, and if it makes me grow larger, I can reach the key. If it makes me grow smaller, I can creep up under the door. I'll either stay or find a way into the garden, and I don't care which happens anymore. She ate a little bit and said anxiously to herself, which way, holding her hand on the top of her head to feel which way it was growing. And she was quite surprised to find that she remained the same size. This generally happens when one eats cake, but Brooklyn Chick had forgotten so much into the way of expecting nothing. So she set to work and very soon finished off the cake. Curiouser and curiouser, Brooklyn Chick cried. She was so much surprised that for the moment she quite forgot how to speak good English and began rambling. I'm opening out like the largest telescope that ever was. Goodbye, feet, as she looked down at her feet that seemed to be almost out of sight. They were getting so far off, she thought. Oh, my poor little feet. I wonder who will put on your shoes and stockings for you now, dears. I'm sure I shan't be able. I shall be a great deal too far off to trouble myself about you. You must manage the best way you can, too. But I must be kind to you, thought Brooklyn Chick, or perhaps they won't walk the way I want them to. Let me see. I'll give them a new pair of boots every Christmas. And she went on planning to herself how she would manage it. They must go by the carrier, she thought, and how funny it'll seem, sending presents to one's own feet, and how odd the directions will look. Oh dear, what nonsense I'm talking. I can't believe how much I'm rambling on. Just then her head struck against the roof of the hall. In fact, she was now more than 9 feet tall. And she at once took up the little golden key and hurried off to the garden door. Poor Brooklyn Chick. It was as much as she could try, lying down on one side to look through into the garden with one eye. To get through was more hopeless now than ever. She realized she wasn't as clever as she thought she was. She sat down and began to cry, asking herself why all over again. "You ought to be ashamed of yourself," said Brooklyn Chick. "A great girl like you should know what to do. You might as well stop crying in this way. Stop this moment, I say." But she went on all the same, shedding gallons of tears until there was a large pool all around her, about 4 inches deep and reaching half down the hall. After a time, she heard a little pattering of feet in the distance, and she hastily dried her eyes to see what was coming. It was the White Rabbit, Hippy Dippy 89, returning, splendidly dressed to the nines, with a pair of white kid gloves in one hand and a large fan in the other. He came trotting along in a great hurry, muttering to himself as he came along, scurrying. "Oh, the Duchess, the Duchess! Oh, won't she be savage if I've kept her waiting?" Brooklyn Chick desperately was ready to ask help, you see, of anyone. So when the rabbit Hippity Dippity 89 came along, she began in a low, timid tone, "Come on, sir, if you please." Hippity Dippity 89 started violently at the time. He dropped the white kid gloves and the fan and scurried away into the land of the unknown to the Brooklyn Chick. Brooklyn Chick took up the fan and gloves, and as the hall was very hot, she kept fanning herself all the time as she went on talking, saying, my, dear me, I can see how queer everything today could be." She started rambling again. "Yesterday things went on just as usual. I wonder if I've been changed in the night. Let me think, was I the same when I got up this morning? I almost think I can remember feeling a little different. But if I'm not the same, the next question remains is, who in the world am I? Ah, that's the great puzzle." And she began thinking over all the children she knew that were of the same age as herself, to see if she could have been changed for any of them. "I'm sure I'm not Letha E," she said. "That can't be, for her hair goes into such long ringlets and mine does not. I'm sure I can't be Axne Teen, for she doesn't know a thing. Oh, she knows very little. Besides, she's she and I am me. How puzzling is it all? I'll try to see if I know all the things I used to know. Let me see. 4 times 5 is 12, and 4 times 6 is 13, and 4 times 7 is, oh dear me. I should never get to 20 at the rate you see. However, the multiplication table doesn't signify. Let's try geometry. London is the capital of Paris, and Paris is the capital of Rome, and Rome, no, that's all wrong. I'm certain I must have been changed to Letha E. I'll try to say, how does the little, and she crossed her hands on her lap as if she were saying lessons and began to repeat it. But her voice sounded hoarse and strange, and the words didn't come out the same as they used to do. I'm sure those are not the right words, said poor Brooklyn chick, and her eyes filled with tears again as she went on. I must be Letha E. After all, I shall have to go and live in that poky little house and have next to no toys to play with, and oh, even so, many lessons to learn. No, I've made up my mind about her. If I'm Letha E, I'll stay down here, you see. It'll be no use their putting their heads down and saying, come up again, dear. I shall only look up and say, who am I then? Tell me that first, and then as she started rambling again, if I like being that person, I'll come up. If not, I'll stay down here till I'm somebody else. But oh dear, cried Brooklyn chick with a sudden burst of tears. I do wish they would put their heads down. I am so very tired of being all alone here now. As she said this, she looked down at her hands and was surprised to see that she had put on one of the rabbit's little white gloves while she was talking. How can I have done that? She thought. I must be growing small again. She got up and went to the table to measure herself, and found that as nearly as she could guess, she was now about 2 feet high. She was rapidly shrinking and certainly thinking about how she got here. She soon found out that the cause of this was the fan she was holding from the rabbit, and she dropped it hastily just in time to avoid shrinking away altogether. That was a narrow escape, I must say, said the Brooklyn chick, a good deal frightened at the sudden change, but very glad to find herself still in existence. Now for the garden, as she ran with all speed back to the little door. Alas, the little door was shut again, and the little golden key, my friend, was lying on the glass table as before. Things are worse now than ever, I tell you, thought the poor child, for I never was so small as this before. Never. And I declare it's too bad that this had to happen. As she said these words, it was heard as her foot slipped, and in another moment she went splash. She was up to her chin in salt water. Her first idea was that she had somehow fallen into the sea. In that case, she started to say, I can go back by railway, she said to herself. Brooklyn chick had been to the seaside once in her life and had come to the general conclusion that wherever you go to on the English coast, you find a number of bathing machines in the sea. Don't you know? Some children digging in the sand with wooden spades, then a row of lodging houses, and behind them a railway station. However, she soon made out that she was in the pool of tears that she spouted out when she was 9 feet high. So that concludes my story. So I want to know, hi Pandy, Hair Candy, how are you? So glad you were able to join me tonight in my live. So glad to have you. Hi, what's this? Nabachin? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you so much for joining me in my live. I don't know what point you guys walked in while I was talking, but it's a pleasure to have you here. Hi, Cindy. Nice to see you made it back to my live. Cindy, you were featured, I think, in the last story that I did. On, what was that? Saturday, I believe Saturday. You were featured in that story. Pandy, I think you were also featured in the same story. Who else is here that I missed? I think I saw everybody else that came in. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you were able to hear the story. Now, here's the question. As I was saying earlier, I had second thoughts about the story that I picked because I forgot it's a story that takes off really, really, really slow. So we haven't even gotten into the meat of the story. So what I want to know, because it's going to take a while for us to get through this story. So I want to know, and you all can just put it in the stream, either continue or move on to something different. So for all of you who want me to continue with this story, drop continue in the stream for me, please. If you want me to move on to another story, then drop that answer in the stream as well for me. And that way I can decide which direction I'm going to go. Because like I said, this story is going to take us a while. I just forgot that it starts out so slow. So let me know what your thoughts are. Go ahead and just drop it in the stream, please. So that I'll know. Okay, Creative Creole says continue. Pandy says continue. Okay. What about you, Gigi? What about you, 50 plus? What about you, DD? D&D Live Studios. What about you, Nubachin? What about you, Cindy? What about you, Simply a Sweetheart? What are you guys' thoughts? Do you want me to continue with this story, or you want me to move on to something different? So far, the continues are winning. What do you all want me to do? 50 says continue. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, well, while you all still putting those in, Gigi says continue. So it looks like we're going to be continuing. So I'm going to tell you so far who the characters were, the YouTubers' names that I mentioned in the story. Brooklyn Chick is a YouTuber, and she's the main character, one of them. Hippie Dippy 89 is a YouTuber. It Gets Real is a YouTuber. Cherry Baby, and that's with a C, CHERIE, and Baby, and she has it all combined. Cherry Baby is a YouTuber. Let's see who else we have. Letha E is a YouTuber. Agnes the Teen is a YouTuber. Or Angsty, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. It's ANGSTY. And then Teen, TENN. That's a YouTuber. And some of these people you all may already know. So those are our YouTubers tonight who are listed in our story. I'm sure as this story progresses, we're gonna have a lot more YouTubers' names in there. Let's see. Hi, is it Sadie Jeannie? Show respect. I'm from Raw Nation. Hey everybody. How are you? So nice of you to join us. Unfortunately, you missed our story for tonight, but I appreciate you stopping by. I generally try to start on time. I usually wait about 10 minutes or so to give people time to get settled in, because I know that a lot of people are doing their own lives and a lot of people are in other people's lives. So I usually try to wait around 10 minutes or so, but I try not to prolong the time because I feel like each person's time is equally important. So unfortunately, you missed our story, but you can always go back and listen to it on replay. And this is your first time in our lives, so I just want to go over what I've told some of the rest. Normally what I do is take these little stories and I use YouTubers' names in the story. You may be in there as a person, place, or thing. And it's my way of shouting out the different channels. And so that's what I do. And there's no rhyme or reason to how I do it. It's just how the story's flowing and what name I feel I can put into that slot that flows well with the story. And that's usually how I do it. And I will be reading excerpts in the future from my book. I'm a published author. The name of my book is My Struggling Broken Pieces of Healing for My Soul. And it's available now on Amazon. And I'm trying to give people time to purchase the book for those who may want to follow along with me once we start reading the excerpts from my book. So this is why I'm reading these little stories as a prelude to that time. And I still will continue with these stories as well. I'll probably alternate nights with them. So that's pretty much what's going on tonight. Anybody birthday? You know I do birthday shout outs. Anybody's birthday? Okay, so no birthdays tonight. Oh, okay. So I do birthday shout outs. The last time I did a birthday shout out, it was for the other day for Fine as Wine cooking. And he wanted me to, and I give people the option of 4 different songs. I give you the option of the Stevie Wonder version, Marilyn Monroe, 2 Live Crew, and the regular boring birthday song. I call it the boring birthday song. So if it's your birthday, I'll usually give a birthday shout out, but it doesn't look like any birthdays tonight. So as we continue in our story time, eventually somebody's birthday's coming up. I know I had 2 people that were in story time. I think it was Saturday night, had a birthday in February. I know one of the month. So they said they're going to be back during story time, looking for their birthday shout out. But I appreciate you all coming. I really, really do. And I don't take it lightly. But I think just about everybody in here except, let me see. Everybody in here except Sadie, because Sadie is new. I think everybody in here, in my live tonight, except Sadie and Nabachkin, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and DD Live Studios. Those 3. Let's see who else. Yeah, those are the only 3 that have not been featured in one of the stories yet. Everybody in here has been featured in the story. Oh, thank you for being here, Sadie. Thank you very much. So yeah, everybody in the live tonight has been featured in the story. I don't know if they've had the opportunity to go back and listen to replay if they've missed it. I know, and I get, first of all, I get excited about story time. I get so excited to sit here and share story time with you all, but I get especially excited when one of the characters show up the night of story time and no one knows. So it's not like these people know that they have story time, so they show up because they know. They don't know. I just do it at random. But it always excites me when I have one of the characters actually show up on the night that they're being featured in the story. And Creative Creole had an opportunity to show up on the night she was featured in the story. Gigi was there tonight. She was featured in the story. 50 Plus missed the first story he was featured in, but he happened to come back to story time another time. And the night that he came, both he and his wife were featured in the story. Pandy, you and Cindy missed it the other night. You all were featured in the story. The Scratching Queen was featured in the story, and it happened so the night that she was featured, not only was she featured in the story as one of the main characters, she won a book. I did a couple of giveaways for my book, and I'm probably going to be doing it again in the near future. So what I did was I had a lot of characters in the story. It was like 50 plus characters in one of the stories. So I asked everybody to guess how many characters were in the story, and whoever got it right or came as close as possible won. And so 50 won that night. So 50 plus won a book. Vernice came in on a night that she was featured in the story. She won a book also. And who was it else? 50 plus, Vernice, Scratching Queen, and Wolfman Gaming. So far I had 4 people who won a book, and I'm going to be autographing it and sending it to them so they'll have it before I start reading the excerpts from my book. Creative Creole says it was awesome. Okay, I guess she's referring to her story. Pandy says this is so nice of you and very creative. Thank you, Pandy, and I hope you go back and do the replay and hear your shout out, hear your name as a character in the story. And you and Cindy. In fact, Cindy, you are a main character in the story. Pandy, I think you were your name was used to talk about how the young lady's hair, it had something to do with her hair, how it was hooked up. But yeah, I get especially excited, like I said. So tonight I didn't have any of the, okay, Pandy says, I definitely will. And Cindy's throwing some love. So tonight I didn't have anybody featured in the story show up for story time. But who knows, as we go along, like I said, as this story, and knowing the story, I know that there's a whole lot more characters coming into play. So who knows? We may use you guys again in the story in some sort of way. So we just have to wait and see. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and continue with this story. Everybody said that's what they want to do, so that's fine with me. So it's gonna take us a while to get through with this one, but I'll stick with it. I'll hang with it. But I so appreciate you guys coming in to story time. I really do. I don't take it lightly, you know, when someone comes in, you know, for you all to think that I have something that's worth listening to, you know, and to know that you took time out of your schedule to come hang with me and during story time. And I want to tell you all, a lot of times physically, because most of you probably know my story, I'm not feeling, you know, all that great a lot of times, but you know, my better days are outweigh the rough ones. But it's something about story time for me. I've had days where I was like so tired to the point where I just want to cancel story time. But then it's like, once it's time for story time, I just get so excited that you all are coming to hang out with me for story time. So it's almost like this, I get this extra burst of energy. The adrenaline starts flowing, and then I don't feel so tired or whatever anymore. You know, because like even today, even though I rested, you know, I was in different lives, of course, and I've seen some of you in there with me, like 50 Plus and Pandy, and you know, I've seen you guys in the other lives today. You know, we were making our rounds, and as tired as I was, I made my rounds. You know, we have to do what we have to do, and I was so tired, you know. But it's like once I came down and, you know, downstairs and started hooking up my my laptop and all that kind of stuff, it's like I got excited, and the closer it got to story time, the more excited I got. So now I got this adrenaline flowing. So now I don't feel so tired or sleepy anymore. So you all make my day. You really, really make my day. And it's whether I have one of you in here or 100, you make my day when I have to do story time. Sadie says, I understand that I have lung disease. It gets to me, have my days. Yeah, and I'm sure we all have, something, that we're dealing with, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally. I know 50 Plus is battling his physical things, and Sadie, like you said, you have yours. But we put our best foot forward, and we just go on, and we just do what we have to do, But like I said, you all really, really don't know how much you make my day when you come and spend story time with me. But I just want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by for story time. Like I said, I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly. I'm not going to prolong the time because I really need to turn in and go ahead and call it a night. I wish I could sit here and chat with you all some more. But my body's saying, enough is enough. And I try to commit to at least an hour each night that I feel I can get my story across, as well as spend time chatting with you all for a little bit. And Sadie, my prayers will be with you as well. And I pray for you. You pray for me. 50, we pray for each other. We all pray one for another. Yvonne, you're welcome. Get your rest. Yes, sweetie. Thank you so much, Yvonne. So always remember, guys, until we meet again, may His peace be with you. And always remember, I have a will to live. I hope to see you tomorrow in story time. Good night.